What up, everybody? Good Friday afternoon. April, no, not April, May 3rd. That's right. You know what that means, right? Tomorrow is May the 4th be with you. That's right. Tomorrow is Star Wars Day. So make sure you get your lightsabers ready, your Jedi costumes ready. Um, Go out and have a blast cosplaying and just spewing out Star Wars quotes all day. All right. I'm here to give you my review of today's all new Doom Patrol season 1 episode 12 season 1 episode 12 titled Cyborg Patrol. I love this show and I've told you I think last week in my review of last week's episode that was my favorite episode the entire series because it was so heartfelt, right? With the whole oh, Larry saying goodbye to his old lover John, who died of old age, and and Cliff, Robot Man, finally, letting go of his daughter because his daughter was raised right by the guy that is like, why do you hate him? Like the guy was there when you were. I mean, the guy was there in your absence. He stepped in and became her dad, and he did a good job. So both Cliff and Larry last week um, grew into their maturity of minds, and it's awesome to see that. That's why I love that episode. But you know what? After seeing today's episode, I think this one is now my new favorite. So last week has been kind of relegated now to second place because this, oh my god, finally after 12 after 11 episodes to be fair, and now episode 12 is like, oh, some action happening and some teaming up happening. So let me give you the context. My fellow Doom Patrol fans, you would know that last week at the end of it, Cyborg got kidnapped by none other than the Bureau of Normalcy. The Bureau of Normalcy is the same agency that gave Danny the Street a hard time, and Danny's fellow gender queers. Bureau of Normalcy also is the same agency that gave Larry a hard time years ago. We've seen that flashback. So now they come back and they kidnapped Cyborg, and as you all know, Bureau of Normalcy started out as Bureau of Oddity before World War One. That's the episode where you saw Timothy Dalton's character, Niles or Chief, out in the stranded with that cave girl or cave woman. So the Bureau of Normalcy's mission is to capture any oddities, any abnormalities, um, and either weaponize it or eradicate it. So in this case with Cyborg, I think they're trying to figure out how to use Cyborg as their weapon or for their benefit. Um, so that's what happened, right? By the end of last week's episode. So in today's episode, bam, Silas Stone, Victor's dad, comes by Chief's mansion and discovers or learns that Vic has been kidnapped by the Bureau of Normalcy, and our heroes, Larry, Rita, Cliff, and Jane, Crazy Jane, they don't know what to do. They don't know what to do. They're like, oh man, because Larry says like, he knows he's been here before. He's been through that experience. He's like, okay, so Bureau of Normalcy basically takes their captors to this place called the Ant Farm, and Silas like, oh, we gotta figure out how to get him out of there, Vic. And Silas is very connected. He's very well connected, but apparently that was not still influential enough to get his own son out of the ant farm. So what they decide to do is they break in. Ah, yeah. finally, right after 11 episodes of, not that I'm complaining, I love those episodes, but after 11 episodes of like soul journey, existential, you know, stories of like pondering about the past, facing personal demons, struggling with your own identities or choices, and you know, each everybody has their own shit, and so they were for the past 11 episodes they were dealing with that shit, and sometimes they get paired up, like you see two going there, two going that way, two going to Nurnheim, two going that way. So after that whole pattern that we've seen for the past 11 episodes, finally we see a team up. Obviously, it's not perfect in this episode, but it's a team up nonetheless. And the master plan person is Silas Stone. So Silas is like, okay, here's the plan. So what happens is like, so they the plan is to get captured by the Bureau of Normalcy, and then once they're in, um, Rita, being the wild card, right, or the hidden card, I guess you could say, not the wild card, she'll come out of her blobby elasti-girl form and pretty much helps the rest out, including Vic. So that's the plan. It's very simple: to infiltrate the ant farm, make to make the ant farm think that, oh my god, we've captured Doom Patrol, we've captured Chief's toys, to make them think that way. But there are some unexpected things happening during that whole process or operation or plan. Unexpected stuff, like for example, um, oh, Crazy Jane, Karen, remember Karen, the one that loves 90s rom com? She busts out and and takes over the wheel or the steering wheel, and Crazy is like, no, 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 and he's like, Karen, because Karen gets triggered by this music that the torturer was like listening to. First, the torturer was listening to "I Saw the Sign" by Ace of Base, which is one of my favorite of all time. One of my favorite. It's a big part. Don't hate on Ace of Base, okay? Ace of Base is a big part of my growing up in the '90s. I love Ace of Base, but that was so torturous with Crazy Jane. And then something happens to the boombox, and it plays a romantic song, and that triggers Karen to come back out. So that is one of the things that is unexpected. The other unexpected thing is that once they get out of their jail cell, Cliff Robot Man is like, you know what? How about we not just bust Vic out? Let's bust everybody out. Look, all these people inside these jail cells, they're like us. Misfits, abnormals, like rejects. We gotta help them out. And so that's what what they did in today's episode. And one of the results or the consequences is that they unleashed um, the butts. The butts, like literally butts walking, and there's like lots of them, and they actually save Doom Patrol's ass, because Doom Patrol gets confronted by the bad guys in charge of the place, the ant farm, and so before the bad guys even think about like shooting Doom Patrol or do whatever harm to them, the butts show up, like a cavalry, they start stampeding and pretty much attack the ant farm guys, and it's just so marvelous. They really literally look like butts, but their assholes kind of like can can spread, and then you see like sharp teeth, and they become like little monsters, man. Holy crap. And the general that the ant farm guys answer to, because they're like, there are three generals, and there's this like red phone, like a bad phone, kind of similar. And that general loves eating Big Mac. So It's just so, oh man, I love this show. It's just so odd. So many odd things happening in Doom Patrol that uh, like that beard hunter, the guy that who eats beards and like facial hair. It's disgusting. I can never eat my dinner or lunch or breakfast while sitting through that episode because it's just so gross. But that's Doom Patrol for you, man. They really go there, and they don't give a shit whether that place discuss you or not. They don't. They don't care. I mean, um, in this case, the butts. Oh my god, I was cracking up, and the Ace of Base, of course, I was cracking up too. Um, Larry, while he gets captured, he meets his old he meets his old torturer, who is now looking very older. His name is Forsyth, and at one point, Forsyth or the Ant Farm guys um, managed to contain that radioactive you know thing inside Larry, and so they put that thing inside a container or jar. Once once Rita Cliff busts Larry out, uh, Larry has a choice for a second there. He could have chosen to just walk out, leaving the radioactive thing behind in the ant farm. He could have done that, but he chose not to. Excuse me. Instead, he chooses to take that thing with him again. So that goes along with. Oh, by the way, Cyborg. Unfortunately, it's while it is fun watching uh, Mr. Nobody back again. He shows up again today, played by Alan Tudyk. It's always fun watching Mr. Nobody because he's just so kooky and crazy, and he can turn cops into pinatas, human pinatas. While it is fun watching him again, but he messes with Cyborg's head. So Cyborg ends up hurting his dad, like literally, because he gets paranoid. And it's like, no, because his dad really wants to help him, but he's like, no, you lie to me, you lie, no, you're not telling the truth. Like, get out, like I don't need your help. So it leads to Cyborg punching his dad repeatedly, and I don't know if the dad is dead. I don't know if Silas is dead because that'll be kind of messed up because Vic is already living with this burden or guilt that he caused the death of his mother. Um, Inadvertently, of course. Remember that fight that they had in the laboratory that caused the explosion, and now he kills his dad. That'd be too much on Vic. I think. I hope Silas doesn't die. By the end of this episode, we don't know. We don't know. We see Vic crying and Silas in his arms, but we don't know if that's just like Silas unconscious from the beating, but still breathing. We don't know. But I hope he's still alive because oh man, poor Vic man. If both of his parents die because of his action, intentionally or not, that'd be really really tough. It'll mess with your psyche definitely. Now, a few notes here. I love the team up thing, right? Oh my god, seeing them actually working together, joining forces. At one point in the beginning of the episode, Cliff's like, "Well, maybe we shouldn't do anything because Cyborg is a superhero. Cyborg's the only superhero here," and he's right because Cyborg is essentially a superhero. I don't. Well, Cyborg in this one is not part of Justice League yet, but Doom Patrol is not superheroes by your definition of superheroes. They're more like anti-heroes, if you will. Um, but yeah, it's a valid argument. But I'm glad they did something instead of not doing anything. And and the team up thing, it goes to show that because what they need is a leader. Because Silas, I think that's where Chief would come in, but Chief is MIA. Chief has been MIA for all this time. He shows up only once in a while. Um, so that's what they need. I think in terms of being able to work together as a team, they need somebody playing the role of chief and somebody as the leader when they're out there on the field. And I think that somebody could be any one of them, but in terms of like leader, I think it'd be Cyborg. Um, in addition to the fact that Cyborg listens to the advice, I mean, he worships, he adores Chief. Um, so that's all it takes. That's all it takes. But it is possible. It can happen. And by judging by today's episode, it can work really well too. Their team up. They might bicker along the way, or Crazy Jane's one of many Crazy Jane's personalities might kick in. But that goes to my next note. In that, if you see today's episode, you would notice that Cliff, Larry, Rita, and Crazy Jane, with the exception of Cyborg, those four, they have control of their abilities. Abilities, or Crazy Jane has some control over her personalities. Karen kicks in, but then 5 minutes later, or less than that, Crazy Jane takes the steering wheel again. Um, whereas in previous episodes, other personalities would kick in, like Hammerhead and the other ones, and they would stay. They would stay for a long time and pretty much mess up the whole situation, right? But this time, you could tell that Crazy Jane has mastered some control over her personalities. The same goes with Rita Farr. Um, we've seen episodes where Rita Farr would walk a couple of steps and she would just like bloop, becomes a blob again. Um, and she would have a difficult time picking herself up together and become a woman again, or become Rita Farr again. But in this episode, it's as if like she got this locked down, man. She's like, yeah, I'm gonna be this thing and comes out. I'm gonna be this thing and come out of Cliff's mouth from the ceiling. And then once I get down, I'm gonna command myself to become Rita Farr again. And Larry with the radioactive thing, they now have a mutual understanding. They communicate with each other. Like at one point after the crazy elevator scene, which was hilarious. That elevator, I was cracking up because it happened twice. I was like, oh my god, this is the funniest thing. Um, but Larry's like, hey, we got to do this for Vic. He's like, we need to do this. It's okay. Don't panic. And at one point, when Larry chooses to like, hey, I'm gonna take the radioactive thing with me instead of walking out without it. Um, when they decide to bust out everybody from their jail cells, um, one of the things that helps them is the radioactive thing. Larry opens the jar, the container, and it it did its thing. Okay, um, and of course Cliff Steele and being Cliff Steele, Robot Man. But my point is that it's good to see at least those four have what seems to be a full control of their what they used to think is a curse. They used to think being blob, or they used to think having 64 personalities, or they used to think having this thing inside me. Like they used to think it's a nuisance. They used to think it's like something that they can control. It's something that um, prevents them from living their life, and so on and so forth. But clearly, from this episode, they have a good handle now. Um, it may not be smooth sailing handle, but they got a good handle of it at least. And it's awesome. It's awesome to see them reach that point, because you and me as audiences have been following their journey for the past 11 episodes, where they keep like not just like it's like trial and error, they keep falling and falling and stumbling and fumbling. They're like frustrated and they stress out about this thing that's supposed to be their power, but they see it as a curse and a nuisance. And now they get to this point where they can actually use what they are and what they can do to help rescue one of their own. And as a fan, it just make I was geeking out. I saw that, I was like, wow, yes, woohoo, team Doom Patrol. What an unlikely group of heroes. Um, so yeah, and lastly, my note is, again, it's so refreshing to have an episode that's not about existential, introspection kind of episode or story. Um, this is just straight up heist episode, but instead of a diamond, or instead of a money in the bank, it's uh, Vic. Vic is the prize. Uh, so, oh man, this is so good. I by the end of today's episode, I was like, man, can we get more of this? Can we get more like this, please? Uh, this one's episode 12. That means we have 3 episodes left until Doom Patrol is over, and then Swamp Thing premieres by the end of this month. So now I hope, with this breaking and breaking out of the Ant Farm thing, um, that moving forward for the next and the final three episodes of this first season, I hope it'll be more like this, like more fine tuning of their team up, more of figuring out how to work better as a team, coming up with better plans. And I hope that moving forward they actually apply what they did today to not only find Chief and Mouse, but also to potentially defeat Mr. Nobody, or at least get an upper hand on that situation. Instead of Mr. Nobody always being the master puppet. So yeah, overall, love this episode. It's funny. It's entertaining, and the writing, man, the writing is so amusing. The lines, the humor, the puns, the way, like, even when Rita Farr, when she was disagreeing with this plan, they were talking about it in the living room. Even that moment was funny. I was like, I love April Bowlby. I love her take as Rita Farr. Again, I haven't read the comic books. I did not grow up reading Doom Patrol comic books, but I freaking love this show. Um, I'm gonna really, really miss it. And I can't wait for season 2. Yeah, it's been renewed, I believe. Yeah, for season 2. So it's gonna be a while before that happens. Looking forward to Swamp Thing though. But yeah, today was a fantastic, an excellent, a thrilling, exhilarating, an awesome episode, for us, the fans of Doom Patrol. So that's it. That's my long rant, my review of Doom Patrol Season 1, Episode 12, titled Cyborg Patrol. I'll be back later this evening to give you my review of Warrior new episode. Warrior is the martial arts series on Cinemax. Okay? See you then. Thanks so much for tuning in. Subscribe. Press that like button, ring that bell, and if you can help support this channel, please do so at patreon.com/Rama Screen. Let's rock this.